If you have your air conditioner or your heater, everybody look up, and it is blowing directly on your circuit, guess what? You have a major temperature gradient, and you're going to almost by definition have washout, rainout. If you have a fan that is blowing right on your circuit, you're going to have rainout. As I described on Tuesday, if you have your ventilator circuit in an isolette that's warm to keep the babies warm, and the circuit is inside, and the Y part of your circuit's inside and the rest of your circuit's outside, that is going to be the most infuriating part for you. You're going to have washout, rainout. So, makes sense? Temperature gradient causes rainout.
How would you fix that?
Oh, sweet Jesus, what a great question. So, you can manage temperature here, but seriously, get the fan to where it is not blowing on the circuit. You want it to be blowing on the patient, not the circuit. You want that air conditioning vent pointing to the patient, not at the dang ventilator circuit. The isolette is the bane of our existence. How have we managed that? Heated wire and the servo feedback loop. And we have made sure that the ventilator is as close to the isolette as we can with the shortest amount of circuitry. And then we'll also talk about this concept of the doggone drain bags. So we have drain bags that we'll cut in. There is tubing that goes from your suction. The tubing will go from your suction to your dump bag where condensation forms. All you do is flip a switch. The suction sucks out the water. Make sure you close it, or bad things happen. Good question. All right, go sit down, you guys. Or for the 2 or 3 of you, go ahead and just continue sitting down. Yeah.
Are these
Yeah. All disposable. There are no more ventilators.
Did you actually draw it? That's what I
All right, you guys, 12 o'clock, take a break, or push forward and get out of here at 12:30. Good,
Push.
thanks, let's push
Let's
forward
go.
and get through
Yeah.
12:30. Good problem. Okay, so seriously, here's the bottom line. This whole slide, the most important thing that you guys need to know is the servo control and the heated wire circuit, right? Everybody can explain to me the servo feedback and the heated wire. All you need to know about this one. Okay, sorry. And because I gotta point this out, recall that by increasing the temperature, the gas ability to carry water is increased. So if I'm delivering heat from a high heat from the ventilator, but then it's cold by the patient, it's gone from the ability to retain and deliver more water to where it's cold, and that's where the rainout occurs. Let's see, what do we need to talk about this? Okay. Yeah, we've talked about that a lot. And we talked about, drainage drops. So we talked about on Tuesday, remember when I talked about the dependent areas of the circuit that are low? And so if water collects in your tubing over a period of time, it can be a source of infection. So the bottom part of your circuit, so your patient is up here, your ventilator is here, or your APNEV is up here. If you do not have if you're using a heater and you do not have a heated wire circuit, you will cut a drain bag into the bottom part of the tubing. Okay, put a star by that. If you're using heat and humidity, and not a heated wire, you will want to put a drain bag, DRAINBAG, so that you can manage the water that rains out easily. And that's what this, in place of a drainage system, there's a heated wire, right?
Catch condensation.
We talked about this, okay, that coaxial circuit with the inventory helium, coaxial circuit, nobody calls it a coaxial circuit. They're called heated wire circuits. So know that what I was pointing out with a wire in the circuit was called a heated wire circuit. This friend calls it a coaxial circuit. Yada, yada, yada. And everybody understands when I'm talking about heat gradient, the purpose of that heated wire within it is to keep a constant temperature throughout the entire circuit so that it does not drain out. All right. Yada, 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 yada.
Why are there wires in both tubes? Because one's for inspiration, one's for expiration, but they both have wires.
Okay, first potential buildup of active humidification. Remind me what passive humidification is? HME, thank you so much. First potential hazard is condensation buildup. And when we talk about condensation, we're talking about water accumulating in the tube. And so you want to make sure that your patient does not get too much water build up in the tube. What's interesting, yeah. Why does he call it a coaxial circuit before and now he's calling it a heated wire circuit? I don't know, you guys. All right, I would want to remember, okay, so you guys, this is your first exposure to an endotracheal tube. Everybody look at this big picture. This is the tube that either anesthesia or in other hospitals that you will be placing in your patient. This is called an endotracheal tube. It's the tube that sticks out of the patient's throat. You will increase a balloon at the end of the tube, and that will allow you to have a secure airway that when you give a breath, you will cause the lungs to expand or passively recoil, right? And so the bottom line with this one is that when you put the endotracheal tube in, your endotracheal tube can go in one of two places. It can either go into the trachea, which will make you smile because that's in the lungs and that's what you want it to do, or it can go in the gut. Why you want to make damn sure that it's in the lungs is A, you want to keep your patient alive. Yeah. You know the other reason? Because if you pump mechanical air into the gut, do you know what's going to happen?
Burst.
Oh, they're going to barf all over you in your face. Don't let them barf all over you in your face. So I would definitely want to know how to ensure that my endotracheal tube is not in the gut, it is in the lungs, the trachea. Am I making myself clear? Does everybody understand what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Don't let them barf on you. And get the endotracheal tube in ASAP, because when you're using a mask to ventilate, and you don't have the perfect technique, you're pushing air in the gut, and do you know what might happen? They might puke in your face. Don't let that happen. We'll talk about holding. There's the CE method, there's positioning. We will talk all about making sure that you ventilate your patient correctly so that their air goes in the lungs, not in the gut. That'll be sometime down the line. But here's the bottom line with this humidification. What's the stuff called? Exhaled condensate. So you'll have a tube with no water vapor in it. You'll put the tube in the patient's lungs, in their trachea, and when they breathe out, you will see condensate. You know what condensate is? Water vapor. Water vapor. You will see water vapor in the endotracheal tube. So the key part of this is, he calls it the best indicator that a gas source has been adequately humidified. I don't even understand that. Condensate is one way of knowing whether or not your endotracheal tube is in the right place. And are you going to see on an inspiration or expiration when using a resuscitation bag? Exhalation. Excellent. Why? Because a resuscitation bag, you do not use heat or humidity. Okay, this picture right here, I would definitely want to remember it. and I would want to be able to draw out everything. Remember, and so this is the HME. Where's the HME? Oh, so this is the HME. Know that you've got your patient side and your ventilator side. If you do not label your patient and your ventilator, I will not give you any credit at all. I don't even care if you got the numbers right. You must tell me which side is the patient and which side is the ventilator. The second part of it is know your temperature as it relates to, you ready for this? So eyeballs up here for just a second. You're delivering an inspiratory breath. The inspiratory breath, it's going to be cold with no relative humidity. Going into your patient, it picks up humidity right here. Remember, this is a passive device that humidity and heat is picked up here. So it does pick up heat and it does pick up humidity. And so you are delivering heat and humidity to your patient. Exhalation-wise, when your patient exhales, it makes sense. There's going to be more heat in the lungs that's coming back out, and you will still have 100% relative humidity. However, what you have to recognize is during exhalation, right, your heat and your humidity is captured right there. Heat and humidity is captured. And so on the ventilator side, you will have a lower heat and a lower humidity. Make sense? Okay, so let me do it one more time because you must understand this concept for this test. This is inspiration. Did I say inspiration?
Yeah.
I said
Yes.
inspiration. This is inspiration. So everybody go. And this is expiration out that way. And so I hope you understand the concept of an HME. It's cold, whoops, sorry, it's cold, flow goes in, picks up heat and humidity here, so it's warm. It comes back from the patient's lung, it's warm, but then it gets captured in the media and it's cold again. Now, I need you guys to understand that concept, but I also want these exact numbers. And I'm going to say it once again. You must label patient and ventilator. It will be almost, I think it is this exact picture that you will see again. Questions about this? HME, is it active or passive?
Passive.
Passive.
So you were talking about the
The what? Oh! We must be getting there pretty soon. Because these are great things. These are phenomenal things. You want to talk about taking care of your patients, these things will do a great job until they don't, and then really, really bad things can happen. All right, so recall trap. Okay, you guys understand the concept of this. That's
Yeah.
what you guys need to know. Okay, Fatima, ask me the question. What if it gets clogged with secretions? Your patient dies. I'm being serious. Well, okay, but you will take care of them. But if it becomes clogged, that is a huge problem. Because in general, the air can get in and air can't get out. Your air goes in, you only get a little out. Air goes in, you only get a little out. Your air will go in, and you go, boop, and you get a pneumothorax. Or, I mean, that's one way, or you're not ventilating your patient, one of the two. So write these things down. This is the contraindications of when you would absolutely not use an HME, okay? And I'm not even sure what's up there, but this is what I want you to write for your test. Number one, secretions. If there are thick secretions, so I would just write the word secretion. You do not use an HME. Thick secretions, you do not use an HME. And I think there's 7 of them. Number 2, blood, including pulmonary edema. If there's anything red, you do not use an HME. Now, I'm going to talk about specifically adult right now because I want you to know that there are limitations to every HME. So don't worry about understanding adult, peds, and neonatal. Just understand that when I tell you this, I'm kind of talking about, I'm just talking about adults. You do not use this HME on a tidal volume of less than 150. So your third one is I would want you to write tidal volume less than 150. Everybody remind me what tidal volume is, please. Thank you, everybody. I appreciate that. That was awesome. So tidal volume less than 150. Here's the next one. You do not use an HME with a minute ventilation greater than 25. Greater than 25. So if your tidal volume and your respiratory rate calculate out to a minute ventilation greater than 25, and yes, your lives are easy because the ventilators do this work for you. You just have to look at a number. If it's greater than 25, you do not use an HME. So, minute ventilation greater than 25 is, I think, the fourth response. Fifth is large, active chest leak. Chest leak. So now, what the heck am I talking about? All right, Brianna, I haven't picked on you. Come here. So, take a breath in. Bigger, 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 bigger. And eventually, she will pop her alveoli, right? And so she will end up having air in her, between her lungs and her chest wall. That air between her lungs and her chest wall is called the pleural space. The pleural space having air in there is bad. That's called a pneumothorax. We've talked about this. If I want to know that Brianne has a pneumothorax, one of the things I can do is touch, and I can feel the Rice Krispies, right? All right, so here's the bottom line though, is if I have to take a tube and drain that pneumothorax, the way they do it is they go at the rib with the scalpel, up and over, and they don't use a scalpel, I'm sorry, they use Kelly's, which are pliers basically. Pliers at a rib, up and over the rib, into the pleural space, and you'll feel a pop. So then I take a tube, literally a garden tube, garden hose, and I shove it into her pleural space, and you now have a tube hanging out. When you look on the ground, you will see a box with 3 different water columns. Here's what you need to know about the water columns. If there's a lot of air going through those columns, that is an active leak. That means that every breath that she takes in, you will see the bubbles go blah, 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 blah. Do you know why? Because the air is going out of her lungs. So here's the bottom line with this, with an HME. So Brianne is getting, here's her HME, right? We're giving her heat and humidity, but a lot of her heat and humidity are going, her exhalation is going out her chest. It is not coming back through here, so it is not picking up in her HME. So every breath that I give, because I don't get full exhalation, is less heat and humidity. Does that make sense? The other case is if she has a big old TE fistula, don't write this down, just know that this is one of those concepts. If she has a tracheoesophageal fistula, so turn sideways, trachea is here, esophagus is back here. If she has a hole between the two of them, and I am delivering a breath into the chest, and it goes back out through the mouth through the TE fistula, you would not want to use this. So I called it a chest leak. Know that it is a leak. TE fistulas do not happen except for patients that have been on mechanical ventilation forever, and you've screwed up, and you have not, and you've put too much pressure in the cuff for too long. They necrose, horrible things happen. Good, thank you. Here's the bottom line. Chest tube leak. And did I reach? Okay, read those off to me. Somebody. Secretion.
Blood.
Tidal
Tidal volume.
Tidal
minute.
volume. Minute ventilation,
Chest leak.
chest leak. Is that 5?
1, 2, 3.
Okay, let's add a couple more.
Body temperature.
One is when you're giving a nebulizer, a medication nebulizer. When you're giving a medication nebulizer. Okay, so when you give a medication nebulizer, in general, you're going to put it, just put it when giving medication, aerosolized medication. You're not going to do it. Okay, so read those back. I got it. So let me read it to you. Secretions, blood, high tidal volume, low tidal volume, chest tube leak.
You just said tidal volume less than 150.
Yes, tidal volume less than 150. Minute ventilation greater than 25 liters a minute. Chest leak, nebulized medication. Okay. So, thick, copious, bloody secretions. Well, no, he's wrong. Any blood, it doesn't matter. Any blood, it doesn't have to be thick, copious. Expired tidal volume less than 70% of delivered tidal volume. Those with large broncho, whatever the hell that is. Okay, here's the bottom line. If they've got a chest tube leak. The third one is, oh, do we need to add this? Is it contraindicated with body temperature? Yes. Damn it, add this one down. He's right. So if you have a low body temperature and you don't want a low body temperature, right? You guys understand why? If you have a low body temperature and you don't want to have a low body temperature, don't use an HME. So he's absolutely correct. So we're up to 7 things now, right? Okay. So low body temperature. Spontaneous minute ventilation is over 25. He's wrong. I'm sorry, he's wrong. It's not over 10, it's over 25. And aerosol treatment should be placed between HME and patient. No. If you're using an HME, here's the bottom line. I would skip this slide, and those 7 things that I told you, I would absolutely want to write those exactly down as I said. Do you know why? Because the 11 of you, every time you go look at a mechanical ventilator that has this HME on it, you will have to, in your own mind, go, do I have blood? Do I have secretions? Do I have low tidal volume, high minute ventilation, chest tube leak, temperature, or nebulizer? If any of those happen, you throw this away. If any of those, if all 7 are met, you use this. You will use this. Make sense? If you don't, every ventilator check you do, if you don't check for these, you will harm your patient. That's why I find this question so important. All right, so that is the contraindications. Fatima, hold on. Nicely done. And I don't remember what the limitations are. There limitations of this? Deficit drop off with increase in tidal is. Okay, we talked about, and don't write this down, but we've got to talk about this concept, sorry. We talked about dead space, right? Dead space, anything from here to here. If I add an HME from the Y, right, remember the Y, from the Y to the endotracheal tube, that adds more dead space. Dead space does not ventilate. If you are not ventilating your patient, then your CO2 will go up. So by definition, with this in place, your CO2 will go slightly, and when I tell you slightly, 1 millimeter per mercury up. Almost inconsequential. But I want you guys to remember that anything that you add to your endotracheal tube is going to cause dead space, and by definition, you're increasing your patient's CO2, right? Are we at that 12:30 mark?
Did you
2 more minutes?
You.
All right. All right, you know what? Don't worry about the algorithm. Here's the bottom line. And don't write this down. Skip this slide. Use an HME anytime those 7 things that I have asked you to be able to write out on the test are not present. Right? All right, so let's look at these comparisons so that we can understand all of them. Number one, you should probably have the lowest one, bubble humidifier, right? Bubble humidifier, we've already looked at that. So bubble humidifier only has an output of about 15 to 20 milligrams per liter. It has very low temperature. It is flow limited. Makes sense, right? Bubble humidifier. The less the bubbles that come through, the less humidity you pick up. It retains body temperature. No. Also note, is there an infection risk? Okay, I failed to teach you guys about the infection risk of all of these. Here's the bottom line. If it punctures a bottle or if it's water that you put in, you could cause infection, right? This is not on the test, but I want you to be very clear, or I don't think it is. We'll have to look into it. Here's the bottom line. You need to know that you could introduce infection to your patient through humidification, and it will be either where you insert it by touching the point, or it can be the actual water if the water is contaminated. That's why we've done so many of these that are already there's already water in.
Will we be filling those with sterilized water? No?
I mean, I can't say no because there's other hospitals that probably still use ones that you fill, but no.
Okay.
You get
Just tap.
crates of water shipped into us, just we don't have to touch it.
Okay.
Potential for overhydration, no. Okay. Also, know this one as it relates to the whole thing. Bubble humidifier, passover humidifier, unheated nebulizer, heated nebulizer, and then finally, what is the HME? And you guys should be very clear about the HME. So, remember, if you need to deliver the maximum amount of humidity, you need to use higher temperatures. However, in this next lecture, what I would love for you guys to tell me when you come back is, when would I not want to humidify my gas? Heat my gas. When would I not want to heat my gas? I would definitely want to know what hypertonic saline is. Hypertonic saline. I would want to know what normal saline is. And I would want to know one contraindication to delivering hypertonic saline.
The first one was when not to heat gas. Like,
Yeah, when you not want to heat gas.
Hyper.
All right, also you guys have 8.1 through 8. Don't do 8.4, do 8.1 through 8.3.
We already did it.
That's what we turned in.
Was that what you turned in today?
Yeah.
Well, then no homework.
Yeah.
That's a good thing. Nicely done, everybody. So then you guys will have an easy time on this quiz. Good. All right, guys, I will see you Tuesday.
What these, temporary sheets,
If you have something that you want me to change on it, yes. If you do not have,
there is some slight
you can.
calculation difference.
Are you?
Okay,
Yeah.
excellent. Thank you. Thank you.
Do it right.
The class average is going to go up to 100, isn't it? Thank you.
Only gonna do that.